Everyone, in this video, I'm going to talk about something that I haven't really talked to you guys a lot just because this is more advanced stuff. And now that you're starting to scale your business and take it to the next level, this is when KPIs becomes even more important. Now, we all know our KPIs, but let me show you kind of how I look at KPIs and as a company as a whole. You need to start setting up your own KPIs for the company, KPIs for the different departments, and KPI for the different employees, pretty much employees, and pretty much members inside your company, right? So I kind of have a visual presentation of exactly what I'm trying to explain. But even though we all might be different, we all might be searching for different KPIs. This is the ones that I'm always looking for across the board and into different industries. Mainly, is going to be these KPIs. The reason why I don't change it too much is because if it works for one industry and I'm just following the certain KPIs, it should follow across the board. It just maybe on the fulfillment KPIs it might vary, but essentially it's all the same. Okay. So, like I said, we have key performance indicators for the company, we have key performance indicators for the departments, and then we have key performance indicators for the individual members. Now, for the company, I like to break it down in quarters, right? And what I like to look on my company every quarter, what is the net versus loss? How many clients we're getting per month? What is the ROAS? What is the team cost? And pretty much I looked at every single month, and I'm looking at these metrics and where I want to get to every single month. So all my quarters in all my business, every quarterly we are tracking, we are have KPI for that quarter. So for me in the next quarter, I'm trying to hit certain numbers. I'm trying to bring certain clients per month. I'm trying to bring a certain profit per month. I'm trying to have a certain cost per month, right? My overhead. So I have KPIs for the certain company itself. Now here, this is the only one that you guys could get even more unique because you guys have your own KPI, your own goals in mind, and we are at different levels. So I didn't fill this one up too much. I didn't want to give you guys mines because then you guys are gonna just copy my KPIs. And I really want you guys to sit down and think about where you guys should be quarterly and what it should be the KPIs for those quarter at the current growth rate that you guys are growing. Okay. The next one is the different departments. Now, this is very easy to understand, right? The marketing department should have its own KPIs. The selling department should have its own KPIs. The sales department should have its own KPIs. The fulfillment department should have its own KPIs. Now here you can copy me pretty much the same KPIs as my own company because like I said, all like across the board now that now that I have experience in growing multiple companies in multiple industries, I see the KPIs like even in the gym industry, in the fitness industry, in the nursing industry, in the doctor industry, in the optical industry. It's relatively we are looking for the same numbers, which is cost per click, the CTR, cost per book call, the acquisition, how much cost on hand, the things that we've been talking about all this time, all right? But what you guys have been doing all along is that you've been tracking your employees and members KPIs. Now we're gonna start tracking the in departments in itself, right? So the market, the market department, we're looking for cost per lead, cost per book call, cost to acquire a client, cost per qualified client, ROAS on cash and ROAS on revenue, right? This is how we know if the marketing department is doing what it needs to be doing. If the numbers go down, now if you have, especially if you have 3 months, like if you're here in this curriculum, if you upgraded to the scaling system, you should have already been running ads for at least 3 months, okay? So you should already have some KPIs for your marketing department. Hey, in the last 3 months, we're averaging this, right? Put your KPIs on a map just like this, on a worksheet. Put marketing and put all your KPIs, right, on your quarterly so you can start tracking the future. This is how we can see the future roadmap. And if we are hitting KPIs, if we are hitting our quarterly goals, this is how we don't go crazy with anxiety if my business is going is setting on fire or not. Sometimes when you're like, Javi, I don't know what's working, my costs go higher, I didn't make any close this week, oh, the ads were too high, my ads got shut down. I'm like, okay, how is it looking this month? How is it looking this past 2 months? How is it looking this past 3 months, this quarter? And if we're still moving further or even the same as last quarter, then there's no reason to be panicking. Sometimes we are too zoom in and we start to panic, right? So now that you have data and you've been running ads for about 3 to 4 months or 6 months, you should know your cost per lead, your cost per book call, your cost to acquire, your cost per qualified client, your ROAS and on cash, and your ROAS on revenue, and your ROAS on profit. Pretty much, just don't. Yeah. So revenue, I'm gonna add profit. Here's the only one part I was missing. Whoops. ROAS. Oh my God, what is going on? Copy. Sheesh. Sorry about that. So ROAS on profits, ROAS on cash, and ROAS on revenue. Okay. Now we go to the setting department. Now, again, we're usually tracking our individuals setting KPIs. Our setter. We gotta look at a department as a whole. And honestly, these two departments at some point, like I know I separated in the beginning, but at some point they gotta come together and it's their own cell department. But I'm still separating the two for I don't confuse you guys, right? So now as you are scaling, you probably should have multiple setters. Maybe you have two appointment setters or two dialers or whatever it may be. You need to start tracking not only the individual data, but the sum of the team, the department itself needs to have KPIs. Now, what are the KPIs that I personally track for my setting department? One is the show up rate. So overall, how many people are showing up for the call? Two is the link percentage sent. Why? Because this KPI is directly connected to the marketing. If we're sending links out, depending on this percentage, that means the percentage of qualified leads out the DM. It might be skewed because not every day we speak to, we send the link out. But if you're operating at least on a 10, 15, 20%, we know at least 10 to 20% of the lead flow is qualified, right? I put here show up rate twice. Total of book calls, right? We need to know how much the department is generating on book calls. Total revenue, number of outbound messages. This is also very important because a lot of time we don't do none of this. And if we know how many inbound messages we're having, we could know, hey, if we could maybe match the same about inbound to outbound, we might be able to do the same amount of revenue or half the revenue or a third revenue, whatever it may be, okay? This is why it's very important to zoom out in the department itself and see what is happening. So now we go into sales. So sales is pretty much the same thing as individuals, just in a more zoomed out way. And that is literally the closing rate from offers made, the average cash on hand. So how much average the person is cash collecting, how many sales they made, right? And total rev. Okay. So this is a good way. Oh, another thing that we could add here that I didn't put is follow-ups. So how many sales are they making from doing follow-ups? Okay, so this is pretty much, and you can add more, like if you want to add a specific metric, by all means, but this is how I look at my sales department. And everyone, if you don't have at least 2 to 3 people in your department, then this is useless. If you only have one person doing your setting, one person running your sales, then the department, the same KPI as the individual is the same KPI as the department. All right, so just be very, very clear with that. Okay. Now we go into the fulfillment department. At the fulfillment department, we gotta see how many people they onboarded. What is the success rate? How many banks are getting approved? How many banks are they getting denied? Times, how many times? I spelled denied incorrect, but how many times they're getting denied? How many times the time for the first shared win, right? So we have our share you win section. I want to start calculating the time within somebody join our program and they share the first win. Okay. Um, and how many got upgraded. Client success is also part of a mini sales because client success, they need to learn how to ascend the client. If a client is maybe, let's say, for example, for us in the $47 community, and one of our client success coaches is talking to them, right? And they notice that they need to be build out the whole entire infrastructure. Our client success manager needs to put his hat on sales and try to upgrade the lead into the high ticket or the higher ticket. Maybe they are into the high ticket and you want to get them to the a program that has more of your time or whatever it may be. That's why your client success manager are also being tracked of how many people they help upgrade or ascend. Okay, so that's for the departments itself. Now for the individuals, you guys already should be having this data because you guys are already kind of running, this, either you probably did all these roles yourself or you're already hiring. And this is the same thing. As a media buyer, it's something that maybe you guys are all running your own ads, but eventually you should definitely hire a media buyer to just like tell you what to do, and you just gotta do is record the ads, and then they can manage the whole thing. I want to do that at some point too, especially as you're doing 300, 400, 500, even $1 million per month. If you want to delegate it, I highly recommend you, because if you can focus on somebody in each individual department, and then you're almost, you're the CEO, you're the founder, and every department is being run almost like its own company. That should be the goal. For you to be on top of this, right? You should be right here. You should be right here, right? And eventually, all these roles are going to be hired out. Eventually, all these roles are going to be hired out, and even the media buying. So even though we are teaching you the marketing and the media buying, eventually at some revenue you should hire it out, because it will be the highest ROI on your time. So what are the KPIs for media buying? One is cost per lead. That'll be the first one. One is cost per book call, right? One is your CAC, pretty much your cost to acquire a client, cost per qualified client, ROAS, and revenue. And again, I kind of messed up here. I should have added the ROAS on cash. So let me put it real quick. So profits on ROAS. Let me. So there you go. That's raw or profits on ROAS. Now we go to the appointment setting. Again, the appointment setting, the KPIs that you're tracking for this is the same thing that we've been doing for the past few months. We need to know our show up rate. We need to know our link to percentage. I don't know why I put show up rate double here. Then we gotta know a number of book calls. We gotta know our total revenue. Pretty much the same thing we'll be tracking the whole entire time. All right. Now we go into sales, which is the exact same thing. Sales is closing rate from offers made, your average cash in hand, sales made, and total revenue. And also you could put how much people, how many conversion they're getting from follow-ups and whatnot. Okay. Now for the client success manager is almost the same thing as the fulfillment. It's pretty much how many people they onboarded, what is the success rate, how many people got approved, how many people got denied, what is the time from they join to get their first win, um, and how many upgrades is the client success manager making, which is pretty much the same thing here. They do get a little bit bigger. Again, remember, these are individuals. This is the whole department at itself, right? So all the individuals are going to be adding the KPIs to sum up for the average of the department. This is why you need to know your averages. This is why you need to run your own department at least for a month or two or three or four or five when you get results, and then you delegate according to your KPIs. When you hire somebody, if they're not matching at least 80% of the KPIs, you're fucked. Like, it's not going to get any better. Like, it could get a little bit better, but if they're just doing 50%, like, I wouldn't entertain the idea. That's why KPIs are so important, because if somebody's not matching KPIs, as soon as they join your program, then it's a struggle. That's why I want to hire as many people at level 7. I get them at level 8 to level 9 to level 10. If you hire level 4 or level 3, getting them to level 6 or 7 is too much time and it costs too much money. Just hire at level 7 or 8 or 9, and that's it. Like, the analogy I give you guys pretty much is like, imagine being on top of a mountain somewhere. I would like to bring a new employee into the new altitude. If he can't breathe, he's out of air, I throw him down the mountain, and I bring another person in that could breathe at this altitude. If somebody breathes at this altitude, then I keep him there. If he can't breathe, I throw him back out and I get another person, because I can't wait for you to get used to the altitude. It's gonna cost me too much money. I had one of my friends that he's like, "Hey Javi, I want to start working with you. What can we start? What can I do?" And I'm like, "Bro, you're too expensive." I'm like, "What do you mean too expensive? I could be your less paid employee." And what I was explaining to him, like, no, you're too expensive, because I gotta take time out of my day to train you. You get me? So like, I could just hire somebody that already knows everything that I'm doing, and I don't have to train them. And he's like, "Oh fuck, you're absolutely right," because it's very difficult. So now that you have KPIs, you know exactly what you're looking for. Go find somebody that can hit your KPIs and maybe excel of it, right? If you're booking 50 calls a month, maybe you can find somebody that books 70, right? Same system, same landing page, same VSL, same ads, same everything, but we implemented somebody that's better at the job. You get me? Maybe same sales process, but we put a closer in that is closing at a 50% closing rate, and yours was closing at 25. Who's gonna make more money? The guy who has 50% closing rate. That's why it's so crucial of the roles. And when it comes to hiring the roles, here's something that like I took from I recently got into this coaching program that is teaching me a lot about hiring and managing, which is the weakness, my current weakness in my skill, right? In my skill set. And you know what they're doing? They're like, bro, how many people have you talked to solve this problem? I'm like, 10. And again, I love how they reset my expectation. I love talking to somebody that volume is their game. Hey, we interviewed 60 or 80. I found one guy. I'm like, oh shit. No wonder I can't find the right person. I only interview 7 and I think everybody sucks. I need to interview 100, right? So right now, if you're looking for the right media buyer, appointment setter, closer, client success manager, the person who runs the departments, the sales director, whatever it may be, right? If you only interview one person or 5 or 10 and you're struggling, that's because you're highly understating the amount of work it takes to find somebody worth keeping in your business. And yes, they're gonna ask you for more pay, and yes, it's gonna take more time. But once that you do find that person, I guarantee you, your business is gonna jump. You know, all that time that it's taking you 3 months to train a shitty person, you can spend 3 months in finding that one right person, and I promise you, they're gonna completely change your business. Okay. That's it for this video. If you have any questions about this, feel free to ask. This is a more advanced stuff. I know that's why I really talk about this. You need to already have at least 2 or 3 employees in each department in order this to make sense. I mean, if you have one employee in each department, then just tracking how we'll be normally been tracking them. But I'm telling you, go start doing your quarterly trackers, start doing your quarterly projection, start having data of where you move forward. So like when you feel like something is not working, you can look at your quarterly trackers and pretty much projection. And if you're hitting the numbers that you're supposed to be hitting, you don't panic and go, oh, whatever, things are not working, my whole business is on fire. Okay. I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this video. I'll see you guys on